Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the City Guys podcast. Another very special episode because we're coming off of a match day win, the first home win of the season. The City were able to keep a clean sheet for the fourth time in a row this year. And I mean, it's just phenomenal what's going on with St. Louis City. I can't be happier. Max, Varun, how you guys doing? How do you guys feel about this?
I'm doing amazing. And I mean, we call it a clean sheet, but that's almost an understatement for what we saw on Saturday night. I mean, our defense was completely lights out. We limited Seattle to only one shot on net. And I mean, that was a very poor shot, that a header that bounced off the ground right into Lute's hands. So going from one of the worst defensive teams in the league, kind of just relying on a solid offense that offsets the amount of that we concede, to potentially breaking an MLS record next season for clean sheets to start a season is amazing. And not to wish anything into existence, but the last time we started a season breaking records, we finished first in the Western Conference. So
I completely agree. I mean, I feel like the major highlight going into this game was that Berkey was injured, and we found that out like hours before that happened, hours before the game happened. So I know we were all kind of going in worried that Ben Lunt was starting, and we didn't really know what to expect from him. But yeah, of course, he only faced one shot on net, which it was an easy shot for him to save. But the defense was phenomenal, man. I mean, I think this is something that we've been saying every single week now. Like Kessler, Heber, Horn, that back three has been insane, man. Um, and considering the fact that we parked the bus for 45 minutes straight, I mean, the defense is legit here. I think that 4 games in, the defense is legit. It's not no fluke game or nothing.
Mhm.
Yeah, but basically, yeah, I'm completely happy with this win.
yeah,
Yeah,
and we got confirmed reports that Berkey is out for 4 weeks, and so season one and season two, that would have been catastrophic to be losing a man like Berkey for 4 weeks. But I can say with our defense now, I'm pretty confident in our back three or five, whatever you want to call it, in Bentley to
mhm.
uh,
I feel
keep
like
our goals allowed down.
I feel like the teams that we'd be facing would be. I know we play Philly this week. We play Austin the following
Austin
week, Kansas City, and then
and Kansas.
Columbus. So
Yeah.
honestly, losing Berkey for those 4 games is not that big of a issue, to be honest. Because I mean, Kansas City's nothing for us to really worry about. They haven't been that great. Austin, Austin's been okay. Columbus, I think, would be our biggest issue, but that would be all the way down the line. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I kind of just wanted to talk about Ben Luna real quick because I feel like going into this game when we saw the news, I think the news broke probably like an hour and a half
Yeah.
before. It was pretty soon before the game, and I think everyone's kind of reaction was like, oh well, if Ben Lunt's in net, like this clean sheet streak is over. And I mean, like Max said, he didn't really have to do too much. Yeah, he only had the one save. I think the credit goes to the defense here, but him stepping up,
uh,
kind of last minute. I think it's huge from him because he's played. I believe this was his fourth MLS game he's played. He's played Open Cup and Leagues Cup as well. But this is the first win that he's ever gotten in the MLS. We've seen him previously come in and really struggle, especially last year. So for him to come in and get a clean sheet, get this 1-0 win at home, I think is going to be a huge confidence booster for him. I'm really happy to see that. And you could see after the game, he was stoked. Everyone was really happy for him. So
yeah,
very wholesome moment
for sure,
for him.
for sure.
Yeah. And that definitely brings back memories of the Vancouver game last season when we
Yeah,
started the
Mm.
game off going up 2-0, and then I think we ended up losing 4-2 or something like that.
Yeah.
Benlute was between the pipes, and that's the game that led to Bradley Carnell getting fired. So
Yeah.
definitely a huge confidence booster. Like, even from his facial expressions, you can kind of tell that he's not almost. It might just be him, but it almost looks like he's not too confident in his abilities, but I think he's an amazing keeper. I mean, he's 6'7", something like that. So you just got to put yourself in front of the ball, and
Hmm.
hopefully you keep it out.
Hmm.
I have full faith in Ben Lunt to carry us these next 4 weeks, hopefully. But let's move on and let's talk about the one like major highlight of this game. which is that Edward Lewin free kick. I think it was what, the 17th ish minute, something around there.
Mhm.
But holy, what a beauty! What a beauty of a free kick. I mean, okay, how about let's talk about what the Seattle player did. I think it might have actually been John Bell, one of our former players. I think it was, and he like tripped on the ball, and then he like tries to pick it up mid game.
Yeah,
Like what the hell was he thinking? But
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So it was
yeah, go on next.
it was actually Jackson Regan,
Oh, okay, okay,
and
okay.
he got a yellow card for that challenge, but I think a lot of us really I mean, players do it all across the world in leagues where when they fall down for a foul, they just kind of grab the ball. And 95% of the time the ref isn't going to call a handball and a free kick going the other way. I
Mhm.
personally really disagree with that. And I mean, I'm so happy that Edward Leuven was able to bend that ball into that far corner. I mean, we were talking about confidence boosting for Ben Lute having his first MLS win and or first clean sheet. So, I mean, we've seen Edouard Leuven kind of season two, not necessarily playing to the standard he set in season one. So I'm really excited that he scored this goal. It's got to be a great weight lifted off his shoulders that he hasn't been producing as much recently. So I'm really excited to see what more happens from him. And I mean, during the pod last week, we were talking about how electric he was playing against LA Galaxy. So I think we're finally starting to see that old Edward Leuven come back.
I think, yeah, the foul itself, it was, I like you said, Max. It happens a lot. To me, it was a clear like tactical foul. Definitely intentionally grabbed it to stop the goal scored opportunity. So I do think ball don't lie a little bit. I think Leuven, burying that says all you need to know. But yeah, I'm happy for Leuven. I remember in the first game against Colorado, he had a free kick from a very similar spot, and he hit either the post or the crossbar. I don't remember,
Yeah.
but he nearly buried it. He's so good from those dead ball opportunities. So anytime we get a free kick in an area like that, obviously it's dangerous. But when you have Edward Leuven, it's almost like I believe I don't remember exactly what it was, but I believe it's like around like a 20% chance. It was just like
Oh
a
wow.
conversion rate, which is pretty ridiculous from a free kick. So yeah, props to him. I love it. I love Edward Leuven.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with everything you said. I mean, I know last year it was kind of like a downturn from the first year that Edouard Lewin with all those performances that he had. Um, but yeah, he was dealing with stuff off the field, of course, we know. But yeah, it's nice. It's completely heartwarming to see that he's kind of back into it. This has got to be a huge confidence booster for the future. But yeah, I wish nothing but the best for our number 10, man. But
Mhm.
yeah, let's move on here. And what do you guys think about the lineup that we started off with, just in general here? I know the front three was something like really weird. It was like I think it was a Toysher, Hartel, and possibly Balam. I don't remember who the third one up there was, but I think we talked about this at the start of the game where there was 7 or 8 defensive-minded players starting out of the 11, which is
Mhm.
actually insane. And I know that Berkey was out, so I guess Melberger's trying to completely make sure that we stop every single shot. But holy shit, starting 7 to 8 defensive players is crazy.
Yeah, so kind of to bring more context to that, we lined up in a 5-4-1 um, formation with a backline of Totland, Hebert, Kessler, Horn, and Vollum, a midfield of Watts, Durkin, Leuven, and Hartel, and then the lone striker of Toy Shirt. And I mean, just looking at this, it looks like I mean, I mean, it is kind of dumbfounding how defensive that team is. I mean,
Mhm.
if we're talking about defensive-minded players, I mean, we've seen, even though Leuven wears that number 10 shirt, we've seen him sit a lot deeper, kind of get involved in the transition through the midfield in a more defensive role. And obviously Durkin and Watts kind of floating in and out of that CDM position. So I mean, looking at our starting 11, we have Toyshirt and Hartel, which were our only two offensive players, and we still managed to win that game, scoring a goal. So There really aren't words that I can use to explain what that formation is.
I mean, talking about the first half, I actually I felt really good about that first half. I know this is like something different. Like what we played in that first half was something different that I've seen, something different from whatever I've seen from St. Louis City in the past 2 years. It seemed like
Mhm.
we were playing very fast paced, like on the ball. The passes were clean. It was sort of like a tiki taka football, and from what I was seeing, like you saw Hartel one touch, Valem one touch, Lewin one touch, back to Hartel, and yeah, holy shit, I haven't seen that in at St. Louis City, and I don't even think I've ever seen that actually, even with Bradley Carnell. But yeah, the first half I think was a phenomenal first half from us, and then especially that Lewin goal just sealed it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we did kind of park the bus that second half, and it was a very. I'm not personally a fan of parking the bus in the second half. I like to. I don't know. I think sometimes offense is a strong defense in some ways, and I think even with our discussion about how defensively minded the starting 11 was, I was really happy with the offensive playmaking,
Yeah.
especially in the first half.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. When the lineup first dropped before the game, I was very frustrated. I think we talked about this on the last podcast, but I really wanted them. If this was a game this season that they were going to go into with like an attacking mind, or try and put their best attackers forward, it would have been this one going against a really banged up Seattle team that we didn't really think was a goal scoring threat coming into this. So when they rolled out the lineup and Toyer was the lone striker, I was like, what is going on here? And yeah, they played very well defensively, like always. I mean, that's come. It's expected a little bit, but at the same time, anytime a team puts on a defensive performance like that, you just have to praise it. Even if they were, playing this ultra defensive lineup. Um, I thought the back five worked pretty well, keeping that similar from last week against LA. Some of the counterattacks were really strong from City. But I'm going to be honest. I do think even though the City deserved to win this game, they were the better team. It wasn't like a great like dominating performance. Obviously, defensively, they were able to limit Seattle to like one shot on goal. Didn't really have, and even that shot wasn't like a great chance. But on the flip side, if you take away the Edward Leuven free kick, and this is another 0-0 draw. I actually thought the best chance of the game came near the end of the second half. I'm trying to remember if it was a pass or a rebound, but Hartle had a chance in the front of a net, a wide open net, and
Yeah.
kind of. But other than that, City, they had a lot of great playmaking, possession, and some great passes to open up the defense. But I didn't really think they generated a ton of quality chances. I believe Fatmob says they only had one big chance the entire game. That was probably that Hartle open net that he missed. But yeah, I think it was obviously a great performance, but I do think City do need to be a little bit more aggressive on the attack. They were able to get the early goal this game and kind of park the bus after, but that's not going to happen most games.
Yeah.
And I really think if Leuven missed that free kick, it's a completely different game. So I will say I don't think it was our best performance of the season, but at the same time, a win is a win, and you take those 3 points and you keep rolling. So
Yeah, I mean Fletcher last week during the podcast he talked about how important it is for us to score that early
mhm,
goal.
mhm.
So we obviously saw how that plays out this game, where if we have that early goal, we can really manage the game and bring it close to 90. I mean, obviously we had the penalty scare close to the 90th minute,
Yeah, I
but
forgot about that.
in my opinion, it was never a penalty. Even if it's a natural position for the arm, he plays it directly into his feet.
Mhm.
So
It's playing
I
basketball,
I
bro.
don't yeah.
Yeah, that
It's a
was.
I
real
don't think
sport, bro.
This
yeah.
would be a
So
very different podcast if they put given that penalty.
yeah.
Very, very angry podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you said, Max. But yeah, I mean, not the best overall performance from St. Louis City, but yeah, I mean the defense obviously a highlight as usual. Um, I actually really liked the Durkin Watts midfield pairing. I actually thought that it
Mhm.
was very good. I really did.
Yeah.
I feel like Melberger's done wonders for Durkin, you know. I feel like Durkin he was decent last year. Like, don't get me wrong, he wasn't bad. He was good. He was mid. He was just actually just like a mid player, you know. I felt like he gave away a lot of like cheap fouls and stuff last year, which kind of cost us a game. And he didn't really track back much. But this game he played really well. Same with the LA Galaxy game, which I feel like Melberger's completely changed Durkin as a player. I feel like he's been phenomenal for the past 2 games.
No, I
Yeah.
completely agree. And Durkin's a guy that I really liked when they brought him in. I really liked
Mhm.
his player profile, and I thought bringing in a midfielder like that would really help us out. And yeah, he wasn't super great last year, but I thought a lot of his issues were kind of um, like coaching almost.
Yeah.
And obviously you don't know because we're not in the building, but I couldn't tell if maybe Carnell and Hacksworth were kind of misusing him a little bit, or if it was kind of like a personal thing. But I don't know. He kind of wanted to be like this weird box to box midfielder, like he was like Zidane or Steven Gerrard or something. And I just don't think that's what we needed from him.
Hmm.
We needed him to be kind of a strong presence in the midfield and to be good defensively. We don't really need him to really attack forward as much because honestly, he's not that great. I think he had at least one shot in this game where he tried to take a long shot from outside the box and it like went completely over and kind of killed our momentum. So that is frustrating. I think we saw a lot of that from him last year. Um, but yeah, I thought this was definitely his best performance this season, probably his best performance in a long time. Even though he wasn't really one of the highest rated players match rating wise, I actually thought he was one of the best players on the pitch.
Hmm.
Yeah, and kind of going off your point, it might have been a coaching issue, but I think a lot of what we saw with Durkin is kind of reinforcing how strong our back line is this season.
Mhm.
And so like a lot of the yellow cards and fouls that Durkin took last season was people on like teams on the break, um, kind of it's a tough situation where you have to take that foul and stop their attack, and it usually means a yellow card is coming
Yeah.
your way. But I think now we've seen where Durkin has just a lot more confidence in the people behind him, so where he can kind of do what he needs to do in the midfield without necessarily
Mhm.
having to take that technical foul.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, since you brought up the back line, I wanted to bring up one of our players from the back line last year. Joachim Nielsen came back. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, this was the first game back for him, and yeah, I complete at one point. Yeah, I just want to bring this up, but at one point when they subbed Nielsen on, we had 4 center backs playing on the field at the same time. I think it was like a combination of like Hebert, Kessler, Nielsen, and then I think Yarrow was playing. But
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
actually crazy. The amount of the parking the bus is insane. But yeah, it's nice to see that Nielsen is finally back from injury. Praying that he doesn't get injured again. Praying for his good health. You know.
Oh.
What's up?
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
No, you can keep going.
yeah. But I felt like Nielsen had himself a decent game at least for the minutes that he played. I didn't see any big issues from his gameplay. He was still the same guy that I mean, like the same guy that we kind of relied on a couple like last year, you know, when we were kind of in the dumps, you know. But I completely love to see this Nielsen kind of come back. But I don't know where was Baumgartel. That's like the one I didn't he didn't
Yeah.
play at all. But I would kind of imagine that we'd kind of sub him over Yarrow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, kind of going back to your point about Nielsen starting, I mean, Nielsen is probably has the best technical ability out of all of our center backs. Like some of the tackles he made the last 2 seasons were just incredible, and I don't think Hebert, Yarrow, or anyone else really had the abilities to do that. But one thing I noticed with Nielsen is his positioning is absolute dog shit. So like kind of just being caught out. So he has the technical ability to deal with long balls and crosses and attackers coming on. But I mean, sometimes we've seen problems with his positioning where he's sitting too high. He's just kind of wandering around almost. And so we've talked about consistently how much Olaf Melberg has helped our defense. So I'm really hoping to see a big player progression from Nielsen, kind of figuring out at positioning, and hopefully getting him integrated into our squad. Because I mean, we're paying a ton of money for him. I think he's on over $1 million a year, and so I don't want him to be a depth center back. I want him to be starting, and hopefully Olaf Melberg can kind of work with him on the challenges he's had in the past, and make him one of our starting 11 center backs.
For sure.
Yeah. Brew, when you mentioned the four center backs on the pitch, it completely reminded me of something that we have to talk about, and that was in the 67th minute when Tomas Totland injured his hamstring, and now it's coming out that he's going to be out for probably around a month at this point.
No.
So this is a pretty impactful injury because I feel like he was a solidified starter, like guy that was going to play every single game unless he was injured. So now it raises a lot of questions about what Melberg's going to do at that right back or right wing back position. Maybe move Akil Watts back there would be my guess. But we've seen him. He played Yarrow in this game with the four center backs. So it's going to be really interesting to see what he does there because it's not a position that we're super deep at, and you were hoping that Totland was going to be able to play every game. So now that he's going to be gone for an extensive period of time, I kind of wanted to get your guys' opinion on that.
I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
fullback wise, we've been kind of short on depth in general. Like I know Jaden Reed has been out. Akil Watts was injured at the start of the season. I don't know. I feel like Akil Watts is probably the best fit right there. I mean, to be honest, I don't really see anyone else playing that fullback. I don't know if Yarrow could play that, to be honest. I feel like you kind of need a faster player, like someone like Totland, of course. So I'd much rather prefer Akil Watts over Yarrow to play that. I kind of want Yarrow to stay in that center back position. But to be honest, I have no idea. That's a huge injury for us.
Arguably even worse than the Berkey injury because, I mean, as much as we talked about kind of being a little nervous with Ben Lute stepping between the pipes, we have Ben Lute, which has proven himself to be at least a decent goalkeeper. And so, like, now losing Totland on that right wing or that right wing back, Akil Watts is probably the best option there, but it's like, I mean, it is a decision that is forced upon us, not one that we would necessarily make if we had Totland healthy.
I'd much rather prefer Akil Watts in the midfield than playing at the fullback, but I mean, I feel like he should be able to fit in right there.
And I think another thing from that is whatever option they choose, not having Totland, who's a really good player moving forward, is going to, I feel like, kind of impact the scheme and kind of the tactics a little bit because Melberg really relied on those wingbacks to generate a lot of chances and a lot of offense. So when you're losing your best, playmaking wingback, and the guys you're replacing them with are Yarrow, who doesn't really have a super strong ability going forward. Maybe you can move Hebert there, but I think he's pretty solid where he is. And then Watts, who has played in the midfield, has actually played decent. But it's just nowhere near the Quinn, in my opinion. It's going to be a pretty significant downgrade either way.
I don't know. Do you either of you guys know, is Watts a left-footed player or right-footed player?
I believe he's right.
Question.
Okay. I was going to say that it could be possible they'd move Conrad Wallum to the right wing back and then put Akil Watts to the left wing back. We know that Conrad Wallum can kind of play anywhere. He's that versatile player. He can play wing. He can play center mid. He can play the cam. He can play CDM. He can kind of play wherever. So I'd feel like Wallum would be the one who could probably fit that role as the right wing back instead of that. If Akil Watts if he's not a right-footed player, but I feel like, I don't know, that could be a solution. But anyways, let's move on from that. What did you guys think about Melberg not starting Klaus? I mean, this was like the first game that we kind of didn't start our two strikers, that we kind of like the weird double striker pairing. And I know every single week that I kind of say the Klaus goal is coming, and I mean, Klaus didn't even play in this game. So
yeah,
I mean, do you think it's more the fact that Berkey was injured that like it kind of forced him to not kind of bench Klaus? Or do you think that he just doesn't really trust Klaus at this point?
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it last week, kind of not seeing what we want to out of Klaus. And I mean, we talked about how we were pretty good offensively the first half. Obviously, it wasn't fantastic. But I can't really say that I necessarily missed the big Brazilian in nine. I think it wasn't that I don't think I noticed anything in our offensive movement forward that, oh, I would have said, oh, we really need Klaus in that situation. I think we managed to still make the most out of the situation while gaining an extra defender that we could use and kind of reinforce that back line without Berkey.
Yeah, I think whether it was because of Berkey's injury or he was always not going to play in this game, either way, I think it shows that Melvert doesn't view him as like an integral part of this lineup, and probably favors Toyherd and Becker at this point, as both of them played significant minutes in this game. But yeah, I was kind of surprised that they'd go with a lone striker role, and I thought if they'd go lone striker, I thought Klaus would be the natural pick for that, because that fits his kind of skill set and what he brings to the table a little bit more. But I have to give it to Toyherd. He played really well. I actually thought him getting subbed, I was not happy when that happened because I actually thought he was really playing well and was kind of demolishing that Seattle, or just kind of out physicaling that Seattle backline a little bit. But Becker also played really well when he came in. He brought in a lot of energy, was able to create a lot of possession in their half. So I can't say, like you said, Max, I can't say that I miss him up front, even though I love Klaus and was kind of championing him to start this game and to get some more chances with the squad. But they played pretty well without him. And I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what Melbourne does going forward with him.
I completely agree. I mean, yeah, I still believe in my boy Klaus. I feel like once we get like Berkey back and like all these injuries kind of come, everybody kind of gets healthy. I feel like Klaus will end up starting more games. If we do end up running that dual striker partnership again, I feel like Klaus has to be one of those strikers. But yeah, let's move on here. St. Louis City has now moved up to third place in the West. This is actually massive. I mean, Vancouver is at 12 points, you know. Vancouver is, I think, still undefeated. I think they're what, 4-0. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then we're tied with San Diego. San Diego has more, I think, they have more goals, of course, I think. So they're ahead of us. But yeah, we're tied at 8 points with San Diego. I mean, did you guys see this coming 4 games into the season?
No.
I mean, it's kind of shocking, to be honest, kind of comparing our beginning to last season with this one. I mean, I don't remember the exact statistic, but something like 8 draws in the first games, and I don't think we ever were like in the playoff positions consistently. Um, so it kind of just speaks to how you don't necessarily have to play super aggressive to win games. I know it's not the most entertaining style of game to watch, but I'm really happy going to sleep knowing that City got the 3 points. So I'm excited to see what the season holds. Obviously, kind of like we've talked about losing Totland. I mean, injuries are unpredictable and they can change an entire season just like that. So I'm interested to see how we manage that. Whether we bring in, I know we have about $2.6 million worth of general allocation
Yeah.
money still available to us. So I'm kind of excited to see what we bring in to kind of bolster our lineup. I mean, Lutz has done a fantastic job since the middle of last season. Um, bringing in Toy Shirt, Hartel, Betcher. I mean, the list just goes on. So I'm very, very optimistic for this season.
I know since you brought up the GAM money, I think yesterday there was that news I think I told you guys about that we were looking at that Frankfurt defender
Mhm.
who has a dual citizenship. I think it's with the US and Germany possibly. But yeah, he was a fullback, so it could be interesting to see that if he actually comes over in the summer. So I don't know. I would like to see that Lutz get him because he is very young. I think he's like 21. So getting minutes here would kind of be helpful for him at least.
Yeah. I do remember seeing that. We'll see if that comes to fruition. But I think just based on where they've started this year, it's pretty surprising, to be honest. I did not think they were going to start the season off super well, just based on them having a really tough schedule. From the off season, it looked like, at least, that it was going to be tough. But I think, getting 8 points, 2 wins and 2 draws is a huge, because I don't even said, I think, yeah, like 8 of our first 10 games were draws last year, which 1 point doesn't really do too much for you in the grand scheme of things. So I think getting the 3 points against Seattle were huge, because if that game ended in a draw, it'd be a little bit of a different story. But I think just based on the 4 games they've played this year, they were the better team in 3 of those 4, I felt like. And I'm really proud of them, and I think that if we could keep pushing and get a few more wins in the next couple of weeks, I think we're really going to be in a good spot. At least we're going to be up there with Vancouver, who have also been phenomenal this year. But just in the West right now, it's so close between so many teams. Like based on the outlook that we're talking about before the season, there wasn't really a team that we felt like that was significantly better than the rest. So I think City keeping in the mix and staying up there is huge compared to last year.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with everything you said. Do you guys want to talk about the upcoming game here, the Philadelphia game? I mean, yeah. What's up, Max?
It's a massive opportunity, man.
This is actually
we saw Philadelphia come out the gates sprinting. I mean, especially led by their striker, Ty Baribo. I mean, it's actually kind of incredible what Philadelphia were able to put together in the first few games of the season. Fortunately for us, Philadelphia sent six of their players out for international duty, including Ty Baribo. So we are facing a half-strength Philadelphia squad. It's kind of the benefit of having an all-German team, is that none of our players are good enough to get caps for the German national team. So it's a huge opportunity. I mean, last week we were kind of talking about how we got to sit defensively and hope for the 0-0 draw, just nab a point if we can. But now getting the news that Ty Baribo and his cast are off on international duty is huge news, and I think this has turned into maybe 1 point to probably should be 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said. I mean, Philadelphia was handed their first loss this past match week to Nashville, where they completely shut down Ty Baribo. I mean, and then, yeah, I think, who are they losing? They're losing their goalkeeper. They're losing their right back. 2 in the midfield. Their striker. And then, 3 in their midfield. And then one of their center backs got a red card against Nashville last week.
Yeah.
So that is absolutely massive. They're losing at least 6 to 7 of their starting 11 in this game. So I feel like this is a game that we completely take advantage of them in. And I mean, they're going to be playing all backups, so compared to what we have right now, I don't think it's that bad. Like, we're only starting with Ben Lunt and then possibly another right back, but yeah, whatever happened in Philadelphia is not good. So I feel like we got to take huge advantage of this. Come out of those games rolling, man. I want to see like 20 shots, man. This game, I want to see that 70% possession type shit, but. Yeah, I completely feel like this is a game that we can win and that we should win.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly sounds pretty similar to what we were talking about last week with Seattle, where we're going into a game against a great opponent historically, but not having their full fitness or their full squad available. Going into the game, I think it begs for City to start a more aggressive lineup. I feel. I don't know if Mellberg will. He didn't do it against Seattle, so I think it's probably not super likely. But again, this is a game that I would just like to see City score early and then be able to kind of just park the bus the rest of the game. Because obviously the longer this goes on and the more Philadelphia grows into it, the better they are and the more likely the Sens to draw. So being able to go on the road into Philadelphia, playing probably one of the tougher environments in the MLS, and come away with 3 points would be huge for City. So, and I guess with all the guys in the midfield gone, that means Vasilev's probably going to start this game as well. So it'll be good to see him and Carnell. Bit of a rivalry game in my opinion. So I really want him to come away with the W.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely some I wouldn't say bad blood, but I definitely want to see Indiana Vasilev and Bradley Carnell not walk away with any points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Do we have any score predictions for this game?
Mm. I think I'm going with. I think I put forward a 2-0 last week. Maybe I think the 1-0 repeat is a good shout this week. I mean, we've seen that. I think we were kind of lucky in the LA Galaxy game that we were able to bury 3, but I
Mhm.
think a reasonable assumption is 1-0. So I'm optimistic.
I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say 1-1. I'm gonna say this is the clean streak sheet goes to an end, and I don't think we come away with all 3 points. I just think it's such a tough place to play, and they are missing a lot of guys, but it's such a solid squad that I just think they'll be able to get one probably late. But I do think City will play very well and probably be the better team in this game, but I don't think they'll be able to win it.
Yeah, of course, Philadelphia does have Kevin Sullivan. He could be scary in that midfield.
No.
But yeah, I mean, I actually have I have massive faith in these boys here. I think we'll come out with a 2-0 win. I'll go with the 2-0 win here. I mean, yeah, I think our defense will be able to hold these guys. I mean, them not having Ty Baribo is absolutely massive,
Mhm.
absolutely massive. But yeah, I feel like Kessler in the back line will be able to hold him back. And yeah, I think if we do start, hopefully with our striker partnership, I think we should be fine.
Yeah, I mean it's a great opportunity for that clean sheet streak.
Yeah.
Going into a game where the team's missing their best attacking players. So that'd be really awesome to see if they can pull that off, pull off an MLS record. But yeah, I think you guys are both going wins. I'm going to be kind of devil's advocate and go with a draw here. But I think going into this game, it's going to be a really great confidence booster if they can play well on the road here because obviously last year they were the worst road team in the MLS. They only won 1 game, and we've already matched that this year. So again, that's another thing from the offseason that I was kind of looking out for going into this year is how are we going to change our process and kind of adapt to play better on the road. So this is a big chance to prove that.
Completely agree. I mean, I don't really have too much more to add to this, but yeah, I mean, do you guys have anything else to add? No.
I think let's leave it there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, good luck to the boys on this road trip in Philadelphia. We're hoping for a win. Yeah, we'll see you guys in the next week's episode. Hopefully, we're gonna be talking about us getting a huge win in Philadelphia. But yeah, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching.